I'm glad you could drop by. This is Visual Art Photography Tutorials, a place for learning and a place for inspiration. And you know something, the key to this channel really is the inspiration. Why? Because if you're not inspired, then you're not really going to want to learn. So it all starts with inspiration, and then comes the learning. Now, as a photographer, you have a lot of things on your plate. You have in your life things like family, friends, work, school, recreational activities, and just relax time. And two of the biggest challenges facing photographers is time and energy. So sometimes even when we have a little bit of time on our hands and we really want to take the camera out of the closet, we are sitting in front of the TV set, we're tired, it's the end of the day, and we just don't have it in us to take that camera and do what we really love to do, which is make images. So what can we do to change all of that? Well, we need to be inspired. The inspiration needs to be greater than the need to, say, sit on the sofa and watch TV. So on this channel, that's what we try to do. Try to get you to grab that camera and make it the most important thing when you have a little bit of free time, and even if your energy is a little bit low. So today on Visual Art Photography Tutorials, we're going to take a look at abandoned places and things. And my hope is that as we go through this, you look at it and say, hey, this is something I'd really like to do. If you haven't tried it before, maybe if you have, it'll get you out there again. So the key word for today is inspiration, and we're going to try to get the beauty and the artistry out of abandoned places and things. If you have any questions or comments, you can address those down below, and feel free to share this video or any other video on this channel. That's what they're there for. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we had to start with the dilapidated barn. I mean, here it is, and we've all seen these on the side of the road or in fields, things like that, and they are tremendously interesting, and of course they're great for finding beauty and creating art out of something that is abandoned. But there's so much more that we can do, but it is great for the texture and the color and all that kind of thing, and you can treat it a different way. This is a different barn that was abandoned, and I chose to put it into a kind of a sepia toned thing. Again though, most of the time with barns and with things that are wooden, you want to see the texture, and so that's why they work really, really well. But there's more. Okay, so you're driving along the highway. Maybe it's close to where you live, maybe it's somewhere else, and you find, in this case, an abandoned diner, something that you find on places like Route 66. This was not there, but Route 66 in America has this kind of thing, and I chose the treatment that I did with this in Photoshop was to make it a little bit surreal, you know, really, really dark in the sky. I didn't want it to look real. I wanted it to represent something a little bit different, something that I felt in an artistic way. But trust me when I say that the colors in terms of this turquoise or whatever you want to call it, color, that was there, and this was all there, and of course the wood, the peeling paint and things like that. But you know something? You can take this same subject and walk around it and find a different angle and a different treatment, which I did here. And you really get to see the peeling paint and what it was all about at the time. You know, you get the name of the establishment and what they were doing there. It gives you an idea and a history of what was going on with the people who were running this place. It doesn't have to be a place. It can be a thing, like this old abandoned truck that was sitting by the road in Vermont, actually. And it caught my eye. And I went up to the place that they were selling cheese there, and I asked them, I said, do you mind if I take a picture of this thing? And they said, oh, geez, go right ahead. People are always taking pictures of this truck. So they left it there because they knew that it would be kind of nice, that some people would not see it as an eyesore, but would see it as a thing of beauty. Same thing here. A bus from the 1950s left at the side of the road, and I took a few pictures of this, some with more of the bus, but this one I wanted to be not abstract, but just a little bit different. I do this often in my photography. I move in closer, and this particular shot, obviously you know it's a bus. You can see the door here and the headlight, but I wanted to make it a little bit more, to my mind, artistic, and finding beauty in something that was abandoned. This next one for me is something, I actually really like this image. I don't know how you feel about it, but for me this creates a mood. Okay, these are just abandoned shacks by the water, in the grasses, and it was a kind of a stark, cold day, and I really think that this conveys the way I was feeling about this particular scene. This one's just right in your face. I mean, this thing collapsed. This was a part of an old air base barracks, and I got on the base and was walking around, and there were a few dilapidated buildings, and this was one of them, and it had really caved in on itself. And I know a lot of people, I don't know how you feel about this as a photographer, but when I see things like this, it just gets my juices going. I just really, really want to get my camera out and walk around. And I took a whole lot of pictures of this. And this was one of my favorites. But it, again, wood, texture, but the destruction of it, the way it's been weathered, catches my eye. Okay, this was a town in Newfoundland. Its claim to fame, actually, is that it's the smallest official town in Canada, and it was a former mining town, a very prosperous mining town back in the day, but now it's abandoned. I mean, there are 6 people living there at last count. Now I'm looking at this across this little pond of water, and I don't know about you, but what's catching my eye is this green house here. And I decided, something, I've got to get up a little bit closer. I went to the front door, no luck, but on the side here, you could enter. Now, this is something I don't usually do. As I said, I'm not the urban explorer. I like to do things from the outside, but something I really wanted to get inside. But what I found was a little bit disappointed. It was disappointing. It was really a wreck in there. A lot of water damage. I wouldn't call this artistic. I mean, this is just the way it was. And I decided, something, well, I'll go through this doorway and see what's going on in there. Same thing, more destruction, not very nice, not very artistic to my eye. And something, it was kind of unsafe. I was worried about falling through the floor. There was water dropping everywhere, falling through the roof. It wasn't a safe environment, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, wait a minute, there is something here. And it's that door. It's that door. So you just go in a little bit closer. And for me, and you can even go closer. You can just include the peeling paint, the door, and all the peeling paint. But I wanted to get a little bit of the stairs, the railing, getting a sense that there's something more to all of this. There was a life. There were lives upstairs. But I included that. But, you can do it any number of ways. It just depends on how you feel about things. You're in the urban environment. This is where, urban explorers really have a ball, because they go into old abandoned factories like this. And I've seen some really interesting shots. But from the outside, you can do things with it too. And you've got, bits of graffiti and things like that. But you can treat this a million different ways. I like this particular thing because there were angles everywhere. There's angles all over the place. And but you could move into, say, an area like this and just, take some of this old rusty rail and some of the brick, and you've got something that could be very, very artistic. You're only limited by your imagination. But my last set here, you're walking down the street. This is in a neighborhood. It's an old, burned out home. Okay, there's no roof on it. There was a bad fire there. So what do? Well, to start with, I went up to this window here, or what was a window, or, it's been bricked up. All of these things have been bricked up so that people can't go in. It's all locked up tight. But these bricks have been broken. So I went up to that window and I shot some of the brick to give you a sense of the environment, and then to take a little peek inside. And you can see the destruction and so on and so forth, but you can see a door up here. So there was a door. I don't know what the configuration of the interior of this place was like, but you get a bit of a sense. But then I decided, forget the bricks. Just stick the camera lens through this window, 20 millimeter lens, and there you have it. And you even get some dynamic angles now, because the 20 millimeter lens has distorted it so that this is on an angle, and then this is angling down, and you get all this here. And I'm not quite sure if this is artistic or not, but I find it kind of interesting. But for me, the one that of all the images that I've shown you today, this one here, I really feel has some real beauty, even though it's been abandoned. How do you feel about it? And are you interested in this kind of photography? Finding artistic photography in abandoned places and abandoned things. So often when I'm photographing in a place of beauty, I end up taking pictures of something that maybe isn't quite so beautiful. But to me, it is. It's artistic. There's something that is really, really nice looking about something that is old and worn and falling down. It's just the way I see the world in some of my photography. I don't know about you. Perhaps you feel the same way. I hope this video has kind of resonated with you and got the juices flowing. Anyway, until next time, I'm Ray Scott, reminding you it's not what you see, it's how you see it. Take care, and I'll see you soon.